2nd Board of Commissioners meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have the approval of the minutes for the public meeting of June 20th, 2011.
Will they be approved?
Second.
Any commissioner comment?
Yeah, I have a few. On
Move that over. Yeah.
excuse me. On page 2, there's a line under the presentation of electric vehicle charging pilot program. It says the vote passed 6-0, but it doesn't describe what the vote was on, so that should be eliminated because in the preceding paragraph it states what the vote is. And then
Don, can you clarify? I see that it says, I guess it's the
the final sentence says the vote passed 6-0 after public comment in
I
the
see that.
paragraph under presentation of electric charging pilot program.
Okay,
But
so
there
we'll
was no
strike that
vote on the
sentence.
presentation. The vote came later, and it's described under the section motion to authorize. And then, unless I'm missing it, we don't say how the, we haven't annotated the vote on the Agnes Irwin Field Agreement, have we?
Does anyone have the tally on that? This is the meeting I wasn't present for.
So, and I'm reading it correctly. At no point do we state what the vote was. Is that correct? Public comment, and then we move on to the next item without stating.
right.
Well, it's not in public comment, it's further back.
Let's see. That's a good point, but didn't we already have?
Yeah, I know it's there, Don. I
Very well.
I'm sorry, do you see the vote? I don't see the vote on page 3. That was the hearing?
Very good.
Okay, that's the confusion. I see. So it should say the hearing, public hearing for ordinance 2011-16. Okay, we'll make that change. So that changes to add the words public hearing for ordinance 2011-16 Agnes Irwin Memorial Field Agreement. That's on page 3, second sentence.
Is that it? Move they approve with those changes?
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next up, we have the approval of the minutes for the public meeting July 18, 2011.
Move they be approved?
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Any comments?
Yeah, I had one question for Mr. Rice. We, on page 5, we've indicated that the motion to accept the certificate of appropriateness with the modifications, but do we need further clarification on what those modifications are? This is the top of page 5.
Sorry, this is on Luella?
Yeah, 40 Llewellyn. The modification was
Yeah,
to lower the east end 3
Right,
feet.
the detail should be in the minutes. I actually did a memo in response to a request from, I think, a resident, what the board's vote was. So I don't have that with me. But it was,
Why don't we just say the modifications outlined on the plan submitted?
well, the plans weren't
plans
submitted,
weren't
though.
submitted.
What, if,
You got a copy of the plan.
let me just check
Okay.
and see if I have what the motion was, because I
Well,
had.
I
had-
made the motion, and it was with the lowering of the garage floor by 3 feet at the east end or something like that.
I may have what I put together the next day. or I may not.
It's important enough that it should be included in the minutes?
It should be. And there was a question that came up, I think after the meeting, which plans were in front of you, and then what the action was, and I do not have, so I wasn't expecting to be asked about the minutes tonight. But I would suggest that you table those, just so that's in there, and I'll circulate that memo, because that question came up the next day, and it should be in the minutes. So there's no,
Move to table.
Second.
All right. Any public comment on that? Seeing none. All those in favor of the table, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Noting Commissioner Mahoney's move and Commissioner Spengler's second on that. That's it for that. The Board of Commissioners met in executive session just prior to this public meeting. We discussed matters of litigation. We also conducted an interview for the Ethics Board. The Board of Commissioners will also meet later tonight after the public meeting for a second executive session. I'll note that Commissioner Higgins was absent from the first executive session, but he may be present for the second. With that, I'd like to invite up Ken Peri from the high school crew team. He's going to come up and say a few words to explain to us why there's so many people in the room tonight, because normally there aren't this many, but we appreciate you coming out.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ken Peri. I'm the director of the Radnor Men's Crew Program. I'd like to take 1 or 2 minutes and give you a quick brief history of where we came from and kind of where we're going and why we're here tonight. About 9 years ago, the team started off with about 8 to 10 kids, grew to about 15, and kind of stalled there for a little bit. I came on probably about 6 years ago, and we started getting a little bit more successful, and the team started to grow to the point now we have almost 40 athletes on our team. Because of the growing number and because of the success of the team, we had to go out and hire more coaching staff. This is Coach Valeria. She is the head coach of the program. Coach Valeria and I met in East Germany back in 1985. Didn't keep close for many years, but when we went searching for the candidate for the head coach position, she was local. She runs a store local. She has Olympic and national team experience, and was the right choice. We had Coach Alec here, who comes from Villanova, actually, for us. He's a grad student there and has taken over the freshman program, which I'll touch in a second. And then Coach Bill, also a resident of Radnor Township, took over the JV program this year, and I'll touch on that too. This year we had much success. We had a very strong freshman program this year, the first time we've ever fielded a freshman 8, and competed highly against the more competitive schools in Philadelphia, which, for those of you that don't know, Philadelphia is probably the mecca of rowing for the United States. And the freshman team did very, very well this year, and we're looking forward. We had our first Learn to Row program today, and we had 15 more students come out for that. So we're anticipating another strong freshman program this year. Coach Bill took over the JV program this year, and in turn pushed our varsity guys to a level that has not been seen by this program before. Each day they were going out banging heads in seat racing, on ergs, on lifting, on running, and everything else. And the JV deserves a huge credit into the success of this varsity program. Coach Val had the varsity for the extension of the year, and we had a very successful season. We went undefeated in the normal racing season, which is the Manuflick Series down in Philadelphia. We finished second at Cities, and then we wound up turning around and beating the team that beat us at Cities and all the rest of the teams for the rest of the year. We finished at the Stotesbury, finished first at the Stotesbury, which is, again, the first time for us. Stotesbury Cup Regatta is the oldest and largest high school event in the world. There's over 5,500 athletes there, and these gentlemen behind me came out number 1. We turned around, went to the Scholastic Rowing Association a week later, turned around, did a repeat performance, and came out number 1 there. With that, I'd like to bring them up, if you will, and recognize them. Come over here.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of the Board of Commissioners and the Township, we'd like to thank you for your efforts. It's a tremendous outcome. To go from a very small team to a larger team and have such success, we really recognize that as a big achievement. So in spirit of that, we'd like to present certificates to the members of the team and also to the coaching staff. So first I'll present a certificate. This is a certificate of achievement. We're presenting this to the 2011 Radnor Men's Varsity 4+ crew. The Radnor Township Board of Commissioners presents this certificate in recognition of the Radnor Men's Varsity 4+ crew outstanding 2011 spring season. Present that to you. Very good job. At this point, I'll move into presenting certificates to the teammates. First up, we have Cameron Staines. Oh, and I was told that you've graduated and you're going to Drexel University. Congratulations. Great job. Okay, thank you. And James Puckett is on vacation. I'll give this to the coach as well. Thank you. David Schnall. He's graduated and will be attending University of Delaware. Declan Carberry, sorry. You guys are killing it. Declan is a team captain, also a firefighter and EMT with Radnor Township Fire Department. Congratulations. And sorry about the name there. I'm not saying the words today the way I normally do. Ben Krupp. Is also graduated going to University of Michigan. Congratulations. JP Aftring. Last year's captain of the team and also graduating and going to Boston University. Is that right? And taller than I am. I appreciate that. And that's it. Now I'll name the coaching staff and directors. Ken Pyrie, rowing director. When we get to the adults, the cameras go down. And Valerie Gospodinov. Bodanov. Alec Hurley. And Bill Bragdon. And that concludes everyone. So thank you again for coming out and the rest of your team. Congratulations to all of you. Now, it's one of the conditions of receiving a certificate. You must sit through the entire meeting. No, I'm kidding. we'll give you a few minutes to clear the house. And,
I just
we'll
wanted
be
to
right back.
mention, Coach forgot to say that they went to U.S. Rowing Nationals and were the top place public high school in the country.
All right, that's
just so
great
you know.
news. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have a consideration of a request to waive fees by the Radnor High School Scholarship Fund. I see Art Lewis is
Mr.
here, and
Chairman?
also Bill.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, Bob.
Okay, if I can. On this one here, I know we had spoken with representatives from the High School Scholarship Fund in regards to the amount that the township has charged in the past for police protection for that particular event. One of the things since I arrived here, with some of the safety concerns in the past, had asked that we actually have additional police officer coverage for that. And that's something that I think the township should take responsibility for. It was something that was initiated by me, I think, to create a safer environment during these events, given some of the history in other towns and the serious accidents that have occurred by taking this additional safety measure because of the volume of people that come to this event. What I would recommend here is a waiver of $1,500, which is the additional officers we had put in place. For
Move
this
the
event.
approval.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Lewis.
Okay. Art, would you like
No,
to
he's
come up?
happy. He doesn't.
If you're satisfied
Well-
with it,
Is that enough? Is that enough of a discount?
Yes.
I mean, personally, I just want to make a comment that I went through the price history, and I'm happy to see that we have it adequately staffed now, but I'm also taken back by the escalation in cost. And maybe we can't do much about that for this year, but I would hope that maybe for next year, that we could augment that added security with volunteers where appropriate and officers where needed, but some way reduce the cost overall so that the net can go to the scholarship fund, which is what it's intended for. So my comment is I'd like to see that discount a little better than $1,500 because we're so far away from where we were. You know, the average was $1,500 a year for many years, and then it went to $4,000 plus. And I just think that I'm glad we're doing the extra security and safety measures, but at the same time, if there's a way to soften the blow of that increase, I'd like to see the board do that. But if the $1,500 is certainly a good start. Do you want to say? All right, would you like to come up? Bob's trying to kick me under the table, but that's why I sit really far away.
Well, he wasn't sure that I should really be here, but I do appreciate Bob. First of all, you got to understand, we request police coverage for the event, and we leave it up to the township for what to do, and then whatever the bill is, we paid it and paid it over the years. This year, of course, it went up so much because there was additional coverage, and I had a good meeting with Mr. Zenkowski and others, and we went through this, and all we're doing is asking for some relief because it was such a considerable amount, and because we didn't do as well this year as we have in the past, and it's a significant amount. It's a big fundraiser for us. So $1,500 is fine. More is fine. If it's less, it's fine. We're just whatever help that can be given, and it's Bob's explanation of it. And next year, they don't really come and ask for a waiver of the whole thing. We're not about to do that. These police, I mean, they do a great job. I mean, and we're very satisfied. There's no complaint at all. You got to understand that about the coverage and all the job that was done. So from that standpoint, but it's just the total dollars, and it's getting more difficult to raise money, and more kids need it. So we're just asking for whatever help you can give. So $1,500 is fine. But.
Okay. Art, is there a way to augment the security?
Well,
and the perimeter security?
we pay for the school district security people. They probably have eight men on site that night inside. Of course, they can't be outside directing traffic, as you're well aware.
Right.
So, but they did have police inside this time too on some of the barriers. So we might talk about that next year. I think what I would plan to do is meet with Mr. Stankowski, maybe Superintendent Colarulo ahead of time, and talk about it a little more to see maybe what
We get
different might be
adult
done.
volunteers to secure kind of.
We have plenty of volunteers. We have over 100 volunteers out there, the parents and our recipients and everybody else. But again, we like to pay our way because we should.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the
Okay.
table.
Art, I have a question
Yes,
for you.
John.
1,500.
Does the school district charge you for those security people?
Oh, yes.
Have you
Charge
gone
for
back
this-
to them and asked them for a little abatement?
We've been paying for the security people for years.
Oh,
It's
I
always
understand.
been that way, okay? And we also pay for the maintenance. We have maintenance fellows help
Right.
us set it up. They do not charge for the grounds, of course.
Right.
So, but no.
Let me just say I'm in full support of abatement and relief. I mean, I view this event is not just a money-making event for a great cause, which it is.
Right.
It's also an incredible community event. I mean, I look at it almost along the lines of the Memorial Day Parade and the 4th of July event. Our whole town comes out and gets together and, puts out blankets and watches fireworks. It's a great community event.
I feel the same way, Elaine, believe me.
So I'm happy to work together to come up with a workable solution for next year and give you some relief for this year.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Any further comment? Any public comment? All right.
Thank you.
Motion has been made. Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That's it for that item. Item number 6, we have a consideration of a request for the following items. There's a softball fundraising event for Logan Schweider on Sunday, September 4th, 2011 at Cowan Park, and also a walk-run fundraiser for Logan Schweider on Monday, September 12th, 2011 along the Radnor Trail. Those of you who don't know, Logan Schweider was a victim of a near-drowning incident in the township on July 25th, and these events are being done to raise money to help with his medical care. Mr. Zinkowski, did you want to comment on this? Was there any?
Sure, there's no objection on this. It's a good cause in a tragic situation. I think this is a good event for the township to participate with on this event.
Move the approval of the waivers.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any further commissioner comment? Any public comment on this waiver? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. At this point, I'll open it up to public participation. Please feel free to come up and speak during this segment. This is on any item, whether it's on the agenda or not. If you're coming to speak on any future agenda item, you will have an opportunity to speak at that time before a vote is taken. Please state your name and your address when you come up so we can keep the minutes straight.
My name is Teresa Whiteman. I live at 421 Morris Road, apartment C74, and I'm having issues with my landlord. I have something I've written. Do you want me to read it, or do you just want me to?
Teresa, I guess if you want to describe the situation in the context of how the township is involved. There's only so much the township can get involved in private civil matters. Generally, the relationship between a tenant and landlord is a private civil matter. However, this instance, we were briefed. Yes, we were briefed, and we've had a lot of communication with the codes enforcement people in the township.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, Bill Miller. And we're under the understanding that we have right now is that this is kind of a work in progress. The codes enforcement have been out to your unit, out to your facility. They've done inspections. They see that there is progress being made in terms of meeting the property maintenance requirements under our code. But you're free to speak on any issue you would like at this point. I just wanted to let you know that we are, the township is actively working on
You do
that
know
issue.
some of the background then?
We do have some background, yes.
I didn't know in Radnor Township the difference between the rights of the landlord and the tenant. I've always owned a home here. I lived here 42 years. I've been here 60 years. And Jim and Ray Levin have not been the best landlords to me. And I'll show you a picture of what they showed me when I moved in. And now I'll show you a picture of what it looks like now. It looks like a ghetto. There's bed bugs there. I don't want bed bugs. I've lived through that already. I have bugs in my home. They come crawling under the doors. The only way I got action from them was to hit them in their pocket. They have done everything for me as of today. But I have been humiliated and all kinds of things. I shouldn't have to live like this. This is my home. Now, I could read this. I don't know what else you need from me. There are, this has been going on, I'd say, for about 6 weeks. When they come to my home, I've asked them, would they please call me? Because it is my home. They've walked in on me when I've taken a bubble bath. I'd like to know how many of you would like to be walked in on taking a bubble bath. I resent that. It's my home. I like it. I don't like the way I'm treated by my landlord. These are the things they're supposed to give me when they come. They don't always do this. Sometimes I know they're there because rugs are messed up or something. This is the last one I got from the fellow that is in charge of maintenance. I don't think I should have to live this way. Now, I could read all this, but I don't think I really have to. I just want to know what my rights are. I've already gone to Tooten today because this is what I found on my door coming back from a 3-day trip to Michigan for a family reunion. Stuck to my door. So I went to Jim and I said, what is this? And on these other pages, back on the other side, is what happened. And I have witnesses for that. And this is how I live. This is my apartment here. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm in C. At that end are the mattresses and furniture that's thrown there. Wasn't like that when I first went. Doesn't look like this anymore. I've already, as I said, gone through bed bugs years and years ago. They're tough to get rid of. My date to leave there is the end of October. And I would like to leave there. But the only reason I'm getting any action now, and I can't seem to find anybody to help me, is because I've refused to pay my rent for bad service and being put down. I don't think I deserve that. But I'm in the middle of where the bed bugs are and the trash. And the only time they pick it up is if I complain. Should I have to do that? I don't know if anybody lives like that but me, and maybe the rest of the people in Delmont Village. I'd be willing to bet those other apartments, they win awards for those. Come and take a look at our place sometime. It needs painting. We have washing machines probably from the 60s. I had 3 loads one day in the winter. I had to go to 3 different places because they didn't work. Now, they own all 5 of these. A gift from their father. They must have some money to fix things for us. Now, I have followed all their rules. I pay $11.20 every month. Used to be 11, went up 20 bucks. I don't know for what. But I feel there's so many laws and rules against. I'm trying to find help. Mr. Miller has helped me somewhat. And I've had complaints registered at Radnor Township. I moved into, I came back from Florida in 2006, and I moved into Glen Hardy for a year. Found out tenants don't have many rights. I moved back to Radnor Township because I love it here. This is my home. I am from Michigan, and I came here 60 years ago to be godmother to my sister's son. My husband was in the World War II as a Marine. I had 3 sons Marines, 1 in the Air Force Reserve. And I resent being treated like this. I resent it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I don't think at this point in my life I should have to do all the work. Tomorrow I may see Tootin if I get there at 1:45. Is he not an elected official of this township? Why can't we see anybody? Is everybody in meetings all the time? I don't know, I'm just so upset. The other day I was standing and I was talking to Claire, who runs their office. And I said, I need somebody to take care of the bugs. Oh, I have a copy, or a dead one. Do you want to see it?
Ms. Whiteman,
I know I'm emotional.
No,
And
no,
I'm
I-
just sorry. It's just that I just feel badly. I'm
no,
being
I
treated so
hear
badly.
your pain, and what I can assure you is, at least in terms of the township responsibility in this, that the codes officers are fully aware of the situation. They are taking the steps that they're allowed to take and permitted to take under our code, and they have been in contact with the landlords, and apparently some of the issues have been dealt with already, and they have promised that the issues will be addressed, the current issues that you've raised. And that is pretty much this venue, this township. Just like you're saying that the tenants don't necessarily have a lot of power, well, the township doesn't have a lot of power either, but we do have power in terms of property maintenance. And if the facility is not being maintained to the international property codes, then we have a say. But otherwise, there's not much we can get involved in terms of the civil relationship between the tenant and the landlord. But we can certainly have a say in the maintenance. And if they're in violation of the IMPC, then we have a
What's
way
the
to...
IMPC?
That's the International Property Maintenance Code. So we've adopted, this township has adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, and that's the code that we use to determine whether or not properties are being maintained to a standard. They're the set of standards that we use.
Well, when do they do this? I don't know that anybody's ever come and checked our area.
We don't have... I don't think there are any townships that proactively do inspections. However, immediately upon receipt of a complaint, those complaints are logged into our system, and within a reasonable amount of time, those complaints are addressed. And we have assurance from our codes department that those complaints have been addressed initially, and they're being followed up. As soon as those improvements or repairs have been made, we'll then probably sign off on that. But I mean, apparently there has been some activity in that regard, and some of the repairs have been made.
But why?
I don't have an answer.
I do have an answer. It's because I'm holding their money back.
Okay.
I'm
well,
not paying them money. I always felt that when you sign a contract, it was only honored if both parties did what they were supposed to do. And that's all I expected. I'm very happy there. It's a nice apartment. I lived on Morningside Circle up on the hill. Now I live on the other side, and I'm very content there. But not to be treated like this. I don't deserve this.
okay.
I do everything they tell me to do, and when I ask them to do something, I have to beg. I don't think that's right. I think there's something wrong with our system where someone like me who has gone through a depression, Second World War, and now again, there's something wrong.
All right. Well, we appreciate your comments tonight.
I want to thank all of you because I watch you all the time on TV, and I think you do a great job.
Thank you.
Because I couldn't come here and sit here like this all the time. But I know that you're all doing the best you can. It's just that I don't know where else to turn.
Okay. Well, if you're not satisfied at any point with the activity of the township, please contact Bob Zinkowski and talk to him. But I assure you that our staff is doing everything they can within their right, within the law, to help you through this situation. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Hello, my name is Mary Auchincloss. I'm called Mimi. I live at 121 Cornwall Lane. And as I believe all of you know, I've been involved in politics for many years, including having participated in many campaigns and worked with many polls. The Radnor website states that there will be a presentation by the impact group at the September 12th meeting, and I'm here to give you a couple of reasons why I believe that presentation should be put off until after the upcoming elections, at which time 4 seats on this board will be decided. On March 1st, 6 months ago or more, the Impact Group of Ohio, which is a PR and also political polling and strategy firm, was selected to perform a statistically accurate survey aimed at assessing the residents of Radnor Township with respect to their expectations of local government. And the reason for this was a citizen survey will be of assistance to the Board of Commissioners and provide guidance to the administration regarding short and long-term funding issues. The timeline supplied by the group specified a 6-week process. The proposal submitted by Impact Group provided not only for a survey or poll, but also a couple of focus groups. I filed a right-to-know request, and I was supplied with lots of documents, including the questions that were asked. I believe that this presentation will be considered by many to be a political presentation, a political action by you, and I urge you not to do this until after the election. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. My opinion is that this poll is not a survey of just the voters' opinions on fiscal issues, but could be construed in large part to be a political poll designed to show the way to shape opinion to desired ends, not to help form policy or to survey voters for their opinions on expenditures. An example is question 5 on the poll, which is overall, how much do you trust the current Radnor Township commissioners? Regarding the commissioners, would you state that you have a high level of trust, moderate level? It goes on like that. It's hard to imagine how this is useful for the governance of the township with regard to the fiscal and funding issues mentioned in the resolution given to the hiring group and also in their proposal and presentation. What policy will possibly be enacted as a result of that question? What does that have to do with the funding of the township? I can't think of a reason why. The questions go on, asking the same sort of thing about the administration and the township manager. In fact, many of the questions are simply requests for the public perception of the township and its activities. I believe that you will be criticized if you let the material gathered by these questions be released at a time just 6 weeks before the election. Some of the questions, and I sincerely bring this to your attention so you will do whatever it is you can about it. Look at the contrast between the questions having to do with the funding of the library, the firehouse, the senior center, and the questions having to do with open space. My problem with them is they're not parallel. In the case of the library and the others I mentioned there, the amount of the cost of the program is given in an annual sum, a great big scary number, $780,000. Also, there is no leading question about the library funding, or when I say library, I mean the others where you give a specific amount. You just have annual sums in all of them. However, when the question is open space, there's a nice leading question. How supportive are you of the continued use of public dollars to purchase and preserve open space within the township? And then the next question is, how supportive would you be of purchasing a portion of the land surrounding the Ardrossan estate if it meant an increase in your property taxes by $129 annually on average? Do you see the difference? You get big scary number when you talk about the library. When you talk about the purchase of Ardrossan, you only get the $129, the reduction to the smallest amount. I don't see how the results of it can be useful to you when the questions are designed in that kind of difference. There was nothing in the papers I was supplied with that led me to be able to tell why there were differences. I don't know from the documents supplied whether there was a negotiation on the questions. I did notice that I got a draft 1 and a draft 7, so there must have been some modification, obviously, and redrafting, but who did that, I don't know. Personally, I believe this is a political poll, and I was not in favor of it. I'm not in favor of it in any way. But what I'm here tonight to ask you to do is just delay it until after the election. Then you can't be criticized It won't become a big issue. The information and the way it was developed won't be a big issue, and you'll still have plenty of time. I mean, you've waited for 6 months. The poll on amounts of money was taken in June. June is a very different fiscal environment than it is right at the moment. So I urge you to wait for 6 weeks. Thank you.
Martin Heldring, 305 Audubon Avenue. Just a couple of comments. The first is, my recollection might be incorrect, but I recall public participation, the earlier public participation, being much earlier in the agenda previously, more or less right after the notice of executive session. It seems to have consistently dropped down. Sometimes when I watch on television, this doesn't happen until 8 o'clock at night. Tonight it's 7:45, and I think sometimes my calendar is flexible, but a lot of people's aren't. And I think in respect of their schedules, it'd be nice to have that back earlier on the calendar, or on the agenda. My second comment in part relates to what was just said with regard to the focus groups and quantitative surveys that were done. I received this in the mail. I'm sure some of you are familiar with it. But I thought words are important to me, and right underneath the title from Radnor Democratic Committee is the words accountability, openness, civility, and fiscal discipline, something that all of us can applaud as laudable goals. So in that regard, let me first talk about fiscal accountability and fiscal discipline. CBFAC presented their report almost a year ago now. I've spoken about it, I don't know how many times. My recollection is in spring, I asked with regard to where the responses were and that they were being worked on and coming. You promised me at one point that each of the recommendations would be replied to. So in the spirit of fiscal discipline, I'm curious as to where the responses to the CBFAC report are and when we might see them.
Martin, this is public comment.
Okay. I'll leave it at
But
open.
I don't want you to think that we're
know.
jumping away from it.
I
I
know.
think I continue to visit with Bob. The list is on the wall, and we are actually trying to chisel away at that list. It's a very long list. We didn't have control on the length of the list, right? So
I understand
if we
that.
did, it would be much easier. But we didn't have that, so we have to work at it.
Okay,
I
fair
appreciate
enough.
your comment.
Do you have, and I understand this is public comment, but it would be nice, I think, at some point to update the public and give some sense of timing. Because in the absence of that, it's up to people like me to come up here and feel like if they don't do something, there'll be silence. And that's not a very comfortable feeling for any voter to have, I would think, particularly given the season we're headed into. With regard to the surveys, I had exactly the same reaction to it. I read through the questions. I attended the focus group. If you look at those questions, $129 is referenced with regard to buying our Drossen, $700,000 with regard to the library. You put a number in there, a big ticket number, I think $130,000 with regard to senior citizen services. If I'm a senior citizen, I'm pretty irritated. I'm looking at, most people aren't that bright in math. So you got 129 over here. Is what the hell? I'll vote for that. And you got 130,000 for senior citizens. You didn't put a number in there at all for the mansions. You didn't indicate at all what the cost of maintaining our Drossen was. Mr. Nagel, you attended one of the focus groups for a short period of time. Now, I have a lot of experience with focus groups and surveys. There's a difference between going out in an objective, independent way to solicit the opinions of your constituents. And there's a difference between pushing out ideas that you want to have validated. In my view, that's what you did here. Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. But
Martin,
that's what
so far as my attendance, and as you were as explained to you in the meeting that you were at, I came in, I greeted the people, and I thanked them for their willingness to volunteer.
I understand. I having been part of focus groups, they are supposed to be anonymous and objective, and any, if I did that in my world, we would throw the results out. But that's my opinion. That's your world. Yeah. Well, it's the world of getting objective, independent opinions of your constituents.
I'd ask that this remain public comment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'll conclude then, because I think two of us have made the comments with this. I would just hope, in the spirit of openness, which is also one of these laudable goals, that when these results are presented in September, I think it is, that you really are open with regard to how this was conducted and what the questions were, because I think there are really some deficiencies in it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no
Chairman?
further public comment, I'd
Mr.
like
Chairman?
to move into...
If I may, maybe just to respond to a little bit of that.
Bob, we'll sleep on it, and we will respond at our next meeting. I appreciate it, Bob.
But the only thing is there's things that are left out there that, it makes for great theater, it makes for great political, and I think the reason why the results, and I'll take full responsibility for that, why they're not being presented tonight, is because when I started here, I was told that always the August meetings is when things usually tried to get run through or rammed through because no one was here or that. So the idea was try to stay away from this, to try to have that. I was the one that initiated this firm because I know the results they received in the last town I was in. And there were comments that came back that we were not aware of until they were presented to the council at that time and to the administration, in which they were presented, which did not reflect favorably upon the governing body or the administration, but also was truthful and honest, in which how we get better. These issues of fiscal accountability and those types of things, I think they're relevant because the question's asked as to the dollar amount to the library. That's what's given to the library. The question in regards to the funding of the senior center, that's a reality. But also when you make the mention about the Ardrossan issue, that is a bond issue that was approved by the residents that the Board of Commissioners had not enacted, so it was relevant, and I think it was because, probably Martin from yourself, the question is to be honest and put the number out there. What would it cost people to do that if people wanted to do that? So I think that is very relevant of where that is. The CB-FAC report, that is something we've continued to work on. I think it has guided a lot of some of the decisions we've made. We're updating that as well. So what we can do is have that prepared for September to be able to present upon that. One of the items that we were trying to get the board, I know towards the end of July here, to try to, we got prices on getting the inventory on the real estate, which is a very valid issue that CB-FAC brought up about actually having the inventory. So there was a cost proposal, and I know the board couldn't get together, and we didn't want to have it on this agenda, so you'll see that because we really do need to get actual documents of what real estate do we own and how do we move forward, how do we make decisions on not only how we acquire property, but also how we sell that. But if there's any responsibility that's held, it falls on me with why that survey results are being delayed. Because of the particular issue here is, I think it will give good results. I think when you talk about decision-making processes or philosophy or trust issues, the trust issue is a huge one because how do you have to explain in what detail do we need to provide if there's an issue of trust, or if there's not a trust where they don't trust the commissioners, they don't trust the manager, they don't trust the administration, especially given the history coming off of this, of what had occurred here, is the issue is very relevant of how much detail. If there's an issue of trust, then how do you remedy that? How do you try to work and put things in place if that's what the results come out to, or there is a lack of trust? So that the board will make the decision of when you want those results to come out. If it's to be delayed, that's a determination that the board will make on that. And we just need to let us know then how you want to be able to do that. We can adjust their schedule coming in. But I tried to make sure we kept a firm that did not have any close connections or ties here that could be accused of being skewed, and the result someone that basically has no history here, to try to get an honest reflection of what took place.
Thanks, Bob. Let's move into departmental reports. Do I have a motion to accept? Oh, I'm sorry, Jim. Come on up.
Hi, Jim Schneller, St. David's Park condo. I regret that I have to bring this up. I couldn't wait to September, though, because it is somewhat of an urgent problem. I had come to you in April and noted that a landowner who had installed a sidewalk cafe at the Zalantro, everybody knows it as the Zalantro now, had intentionally paved over half a tree square, so the cement is literally up to the tree, kind of scraping against the trunk of the tree. And you kindly noted that to Matt. Matt, over the period of 60 days, eventually got to me and said, we've decided to put in a grating now. And I questioned him, and I understood this to be a metal grating where it's cut around the tree. And he said he had the assistance of the landowner, or intimated that. And that was great, except another 45 days passed. Meanwhile, the tree is getting quite ill. During the 45 days, I wrote him a letter because I was very excited about this, and I said, when they do remove the cement, I volunteer to stand there for a day and irrigate the tree because I felt that it's been very dry. It suffered from poison, typical pollution and possibly adulterants. And the Shade Tree Commission had backed me up on this. I didn't get an answer to that, and lo and behold, within about 2 weeks of that, I found out that a grading indeed had been placed, but it had been placed on the other tree that had never been cemented around. So this was a very sarcastic and really a cynical move on the part of Mr. Baumann, and I apologize he's not here to answer for himself. I had written the letter and a day later I found out he'd left. But the problem remains. The landowner is literally, to my belief, trying to take over that tree square. I guarantee you, when the tree dies, he's going to be in here, and he's going to be talking to everybody he can to get that tree permanently removed. Now, the trees on North Wayne Avenue are evenly spaced. They were put there by design. And so for two reasons, namely, that there should be that decorative and that pleasant implement, and also that a landowner can't take the direction of government the way he wants. As I did check with the application for the sidewalk, and the landowner did not, you can see here, did not check anything about a shade tree. And I note on these applications to improve the curb, that is the 8 foot of sidewalk, they sign off on an agreement that the filing of this application constitutes an agreement to comply with the terms, conditions, and also with all ordinances and regulations. Now, this landowner is in violation of about 5 different regulations, including hurting a shade tree, which has up to $1,000 a day fine. Is there anything that could possibly be done? Since the board had indicated they were concerned, and can you take any further
Jim,
steps?
we'll have staff, you've put us on notice, we'll have staff take a look at it. And if there's anything that we can do within our rights, we'll do. Again, we can't control the fact that Matt Baumann is no longer in community development, but we can certainly see if anything can be picked up from where that was left off. We'll take a look at it.
Mr. Chairman, we will look at that, but I know the one tree that Jim, believe you did point out, actually went back, and they did replace that with the grate, so I want to thank you for that, because you were correct in what you sent to us, and the change was made. So if there's another one, we'll take a look there and get back to the owner as well.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes public comment.
Move we accept departmental.
I'm sorry, we really do need to move on. You did have a chance to speak already once. We'd appreciate.
This is about something entirely different.
Okay.
I think it should be talked about. I used to work for the Republican Party in this area, and to live here you really had to be a Republican, especially raising 6 children. But I had relatives. Jake Whiteman used to be the township manager. He's a relative. His dad was also involved all his life, and he lived to be 80-something. The two incidents I think that are happening now, I went to vote the last time we voted, and it was 9 o'clock in the morning. I had a grandson home sick with pneumonia, so I really couldn't stay too long. But as I was leaving after voting, this woman said to me, "Go home, Grandma," to me. So I went to find out what her name was. She wouldn't give it to me. She told me she was going to call the police, security. I thought this was still a free country. Go home, Grandma? People don't even want to vote anymore. I think it's sad. I've tried through both reps to find out her name. Nobody knows who she is. I think she owes me an apology. Go home, Grandma? We used to pick older women up and take them to vote, not tell them to go home. She was not very nice to me. I think we have to be nicer to one another. The other incident happened in the supermarket the other day from a young man who grew up with my kids at St. Catherine's, played with them. We all lived in the same neighborhood, all friends. You know what he said to me when I was in the Acme? Mrs. Whiteman, you got to get with it. You have to learn how to lie, cheat, and steal.
Thank you for your comment. That concludes public participation.
Move the department reports be accepted.
Any commissioner comment? Seeing none. Any public comment? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have resolution 2011-101, September 11th, Remembrance. This is a resolution adopting Senate Resolution 237, which established a national moment of remembrance. And I'll just read this. Whereas the United States Senate on July 22, 2011, adopted Senate Resolution 237 establishing a national moment of remembrance beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on September 11th, and whereas the national moment of remembrance was established by the Senate to call upon every person in the United States to stop and remember those we lost in the September 11th attacks. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Board of Commissioners of Radnor Township, does hereby adopt and support the United States Senate Resolution 237, a copy of which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, establishing a national moment of remembrance for Radnor Township and the country on September 11th, 2011.
I'll move the approval of the resolution.
Second.
Any commissioner comment? I just want to make a mention that Bryn Mawr Fire Department will again be having a ceremony on September 11th. I don't have the date and time as of yet, and there'll most likely be other ceremonies in the area too.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes.
Yes, upon direction of the township manager, in conjunction with the Stop and Remember ceremony at 1 p.m. where all the sirens are going to be sounded, the township manager instructed us to put an itinerary together of which we are working on, and tentatively it's scheduled for 1 p.m. at St. David's Park on East Lancaster Avenue. As you know, September 11th is a Sunday this year. We plan to be there with a color guard from Radnor Police, Radnor Fire Company, the American Legion, and the Valley Forge Military Academy as well. We're going to have a ceremony with the beginning of the fire company sounding the sirens at 1 p.m., as well as the church bells. We plan to have opening prayers from different denominations. We're going to have dignitary speeches, which would include the 7 commissioners and other elected officials or whatever. Also, we're going to have members from the American Legion post to play taps and have a 21-gun salute. We will have closing remarks, and it's anticipated that the end of this ceremony will be approximately 1:30 p.m. We also have a possible relocation of a, help me with that word again, obelisk, a rock that will be dedicated in memorial to the 9/11 tragedy that happened. And we are still working on this itinerary. Once it's confirmed and approved by the township manager, we'll make sure this is emailed to the Board of Commissioners. It's also mentioned in our on our website and on our newsletter that's going out shortly.
Thank you, Superintendent. Any public comment on this motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have Resolution 2011-100 invoking the procedures for municipal curative amendments as provided by Section 609-2 of the Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Code. Mr. Rice, would you like to comment?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to catch you off guard.
No, we were just having a sidebar here on something. The proposed resolution, as the board knows, and I think it was reported, the zoning hearing board decision involving bed and breakfast use in the township was found by the Commonwealth Court that the zoning ordinance didn't adequately provide for that particular use. In order to fix that, and what the both the Delaware County and the Commonwealth Court pointed out, there was multiple inconsistencies between those types of uses that you have. You have a rooming house use, you have a tourist home use, you don't have a bed and breakfast use, although there's a reference to it in your zoning ordinance, but it's not permitted anywhere. And then that type of housing for transient guests, visitors in Radnor Township needs to be fixed. Commonwealth Court decision points that out. What this resolution will do is give the Planning Commission and the Commission 6 months from tonight to prepare a zoning amendment, consider, advertise it, and to correct that problem in your zoning code.
All right, very good, thank you. Do we
Move
have
the
a motion?
approval of resolution.
Second.
Okay, moved in second. Any board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have schedule of bills payable 2011-8A.
We have a grand total of $1,531,107.24. These bills have been approved by the respective department heads, verified and processed by the Finance Department, and are within the 2011 total by fund budgetary limits as proposed by the Board of Commissioners, and I'll move the approval.
Second.
Board comment?
I'd like to recuse myself from one item on page 12 from our Parks and Rec Department to the Longstreth Sporting Goods, which is a company my husband owns.
And I'll recuse myself on the line items involving Office Basics, Inc.
Recusals noted. Any further board comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Noting Commissioner Spengler's motion, Commissioner Nagel's second on that. Next up, we have a motion authorizing bids for items. There's a list here of entry doors at the Radnor Memorial Library, traffic signal maintenance, fuels and lubricants, fence repair and replacement, comfort station at Cowan Park, uniforms for the police department and public works, various police equipment.
I'll move the motion. I'll motion to authorize the bids for these
Second.
items.
Second.
Any commissioner comment? Any public comment?
Sarah Pilling, 29 Garrett Avenue, and I live near Emlyn Tennell Park. And as a park that has waited patiently and impatiently for years for a comfort station, I'm wondering if and why not the proposed plan for Cowan Park, which is to be a template for all parks, is not shown to the public. Why have we not seen this, or will we be given an opportunity to see what this looks like?
All right. I believe Tammy Cohen had presented some of that information at a much earlier meeting. As I recall, it was probably 8 months ago. It was a new block structure with decorative block that also contained some type of a covered area.
Well, having only missed one meeting in the last 2 years, it might be very helpful if it was just scanned and put up on the web,
Sure.
so we can see what park comfort stations are going to look like in the future.
And actually, I guess I'm ahead of the game here. This is authorizing to put this out to bid.
That's correct.
So the final design, is it actually known yet at this point? Or?
Steve.
Steve?
Yes, Commissioner, and you were correct. Mrs. Cohen did get that final design done. And Mrs. Pilling, you could meet with me, and I could go over the plans with you in conjunction with posting that on the website, so you could see what we have.
I just think it'd be nice for the public, because Emlyn Tennell's not the only one waiting for either getting a comfort station finally, but some of them to be replaced. And I just think it's a courtesy to the public that they see what's coming down the pike. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Also, too, in meeting with one of our representatives, state capital budget is coming up, and a request is being asked for from the township in September. And this would seem to be a very good project for us to ask for. With, I believe there is no match to that. So I think this would be a good project for us to submit. Falls within the parameters of the dollars in which we could be very competitive for those. So that would be one item for consideration.
I appreciate it. Please do. Thank you. Okay, we have a move and second. Any further public comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Commissioner Spengler motion, Commissioner Nagel second. Any old business?
I just have one quick update on the Goshen Road project. Most of you know Goshen Road has now been reopened. There continue to be a few items outstanding, some issues we're having with drainage, with the level of vegetation that was removed, and with the integrity of the embankments that were left, which aren't falling into the road in the rain. And I wanted to thank Steve Norsini, our new Public Works Director, for attending to this and working with PennDOT very patiently and very diligently, and he continues to negotiate with them to address some of these issues.
Yeah, John Rice, do you have a comment?
Just on an old business item, going back to the minutes that we talked about earlier, the July 18th minutes and the Harb motion. What the motion was, and I had sent a letter July 20th, what the vote was to, and the minutes ought to reflect, and the board should vote on this once I read this, that the commissioners approved modifying the May 17th, 2011 plans approved by Harb, requiring a 3-foot reduction in the grades at the southeast corner of the property pursuant to the provisions of the Historic Districts Ordinance. So that was the motion, that was the discussion, that was the end result of what happened that night.
I'll move it on the table. Let's put it back on the table. We tabled that earlier. We'll approve the minutes with that change. Do we have
Yes, yes.
Do I have a second on that? Okay.
All right.
All those in favor to, actually,
Public comment.
On table.
any board comment on the untabling? Any public comment? Okay, all those in favor to untable, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
No.
opposed? Motion carries to untable.
I'll move the approval of the minutes with the inclusion that John just said.
Second.
Okay. Any board comment? Any public comment?
I'm just going
All
to
the-
abstain from voting on this because I
You
wasn't
weren't
at the meeting.
That's a good point. You know what, I voted on the, okay. We have a problem. I voted on the other minutes and I forgot.
Well, I wasn't at the meeting either, but I can vote.
You
I
were
can-
most of it.
I believe you can vote.
I did
even-
watch the
I
meeting.
can't vote either?
But
Even
Yeah,
though
you vote
you're
on the
not
minutes.
at the meeting, I think you can vote to approve the minutes.
I'm sure you can,
Yeah.
but I wasn't there, so I can't really comment on it.
And you didn't take the extra time to
But
watch it
even
on
the
television?
addition, I mean, that's no conflict, right? That's
All
just
right.
You can-
So
doing the minutes, okay. All
all those in favor?
Aye.
right. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Any other old business? I'm sorry, 5-0.
501.
You can, and one abstention, thank you. Noting Hank Mahoney's abstention, Commissioner Mahoney. I'm tired and it's only 8:30. Any other old business? Under new business, I just will put it out there. We've talked a couple years about having special finance meetings as we get closer to budget time. And I just want to bring it up. Kevin's not here to defend it or approve it or disagree with it. But I would like at our September meeting for all of us to come prepared to talk about it, because I think it would be helpful to have at least 1 or 2 extra meetings to discuss the budget, whether that's in the Finance Committee setting or as the board of the whole. So however we want to look at that. So that's my only comment. Any other new business?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as a reminder, and I want to thank Barron for that, the September 12th meeting, the Board of Commissioners was originally scheduled for Valley Forge Military Academy. We'd like to move that back to this building here and hold that meeting here, the Township building. And we'll go ahead and we'll post that up on the website too, if the board's okay with that.
I'll move the approval.
Second.
Change.
Any second on that?
I seconded it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, any board comment on moving the meeting back to the Township building? And this is the September meeting?
September 12th.
September 12th. Any public comment on that? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 6-9. Noting Commissioner Spengler's move and Commissioner Nagel's second on that, and that's to move the September 12th meeting back to the Township building. That's it. Under new business, public.
No, I have something under
I'm
new
sorry, John.
business. Township received word last week that the former Parks and Rec director for many years here, Jim Dipmore, had passed away. And I just want members of the public to know that anyone who worked with Jim over the years knows what a great guy he was, and a lot of what we have today as far as Parks and Rec in this township is directly attributable to him and his leadership. I think case can probably be made we wouldn't have the Willows today if it hadn't been for Jim's leadership. And based on that, we actually dedicated a plaque in the the sunroom at the Willows to him several years ago, and since that time we've named a park after him. So our sympathies go out to his family.
Thank you, John. I also want to mention the passing of Tom Glenn. He was the treasurer of the Radnor Township Public Library and also served as chair of the Citizens Communication Council. He passed away unexpectedly last week. So again, our thoughts and prayers to his family for his loss. At this point, I'll open it up to public participation. And we charge you if you come up the second time. No.
Thank you for your patience. Jim Schneller from St. David's Park condo. I see that a new structure is up where the former mall was in the 300 block of East Lancaster Avenue and where the Acme was. And I'm using this opportunity, if I might, to ask you to please implement the code where it says that the design review board has to approve new structures. It seems to me that that's a point blank directive that all new developments or new structures actually have to go in front of the design review board. Now, I don't think we should have taste police, but I also know that we do. And I know the design review board, the few meetings I've sat in on, I have a lot of respect for them. And I've got a list of buildings here that I really don't like. And I've got a right to come in here and say, I don't like that building at Luella and School Lane. It looks like something out of Monte Carlo. I don't like the thing over the Duck, especially with the parking structure in the back behind Sulpizio Gym. It looks like a big Arco station with those big weather-preventing roofs, and so on. And so now we've got a mall going up on East Lancaster. I hate to tell you, but when a mall goes up in a place like, you know, Rodeo Drive, Providence, you name it, places with a lot of allure, and places with a historical ordinance, they don't put up malls like you're seeing go up on East Lancaster. And I think we've lost a huge opportunity. So it calls out to me that if the design review board was reviewing these big structures, we'd have even a prettier town. So is there any chance that this could be looked at as far as being an important statute to have at work?
We'll have our solicitor look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
We're adjourning to executive session.